I just watched Companion and I thought it was a pretty good film. I really liked the main character, Iris, played by Sophie Thatcher. I thought she did a really good job in this film. Um, and it was a very believable performance for the type of character she was playing. At first, you don't really know why she acts the way she does, and I think the story does a good job drip feeding you some information so that you slowly learn about this world and these characters, and it's an effective way to tell this kind of mystery story. I also really like the supporting cast. I thought some of the jokes were really funny, and I sort of like the dark humor that was used for this kind of story because the overall story is very dystopian and really sadly relevant too. I'm a little mixed on Jack Quaid's performance in this film. I do think he plays a pretty convincing scumbag, but I feel like he's holding back a little bit in this movie when he could go full throttle crazy. And you know, it's sort of similar to his performance in The Boys, but not really. He's playing a drastically different character, but he's kind of acting the same way, if that makes sense. Like he's has the same mannerisms, the same sort of expressions, but like I said, different characters. And I think he does a decent enough job. Toward the end, I am fully bought into his character, but yeah, it took a little bit of convincing. The story is pretty simple. It's not trying to be subtle, and it doesn't need to be. It's really just a story about misogyny and power and control, and in this case, it works well. I think it really does an effective job of showing this sort of arc that Iris goes through in discovering all these little pieces of information. And overall, I really get the sense that the story is coming from a place of reality. It's not it's grounded, but it's also exaggerated, and at the same time it feels very relevant. So I thought it was interesting how the movie was able to balance those factors out, the realism with the fantasy or the sci-fi. It was interesting. It all takes place in this one setting, this house in the woods, and I think that's a nice cozy setting to tell this story, even though it has broader implications for this world, and it's a much more important story than this small setting is letting on. But I think it fits well for this particular story. And overall, I really liked the ending as well. I thought it was executed well. It was sort of satisfying, even though the main character sort of gives it away at the beginning. So you sort of know what to expect, but in this case, I think it's not really fully giving away what happens, and it doesn't ruin anything for me, really. And going into this film, I didn't know anything about the movie. I didn't watch any trailers, and I didn't know about the plot, and I think that really helped me enjoy the film to the fullest, because it definitely relies on the audience not knowing much about anything, because it wants to slowly give you this information so you could start figuring it out on your own. There are small details throughout the film that are brought up later and are important later. So going into it, You have to pay attention to what is shown to you, and I really enjoy that. This is a show, not tell kind of movie, and I definitely prefer that. I like how each character reveals themselves through their actions and through how they treat other characters. You know, a piece of clothing reveals information about a character, and that kind of stuff, that kind of detail is nice in a movie. It's refreshing. I definitely prefer that than loads of exposition. And I wouldn't say the story is overall surprising. There's a twist, if you want to call it a twist in the story that's revealed early on, but it doesn't. It's not treated as like a huge twist. It's just it's a big factor in the story, and I suppose that there are a lot of plot details that the movie gives you and it wants you to think about because they're going to be used later, like different requirements that it would make sense if you watch the film, like what I mean. But yeah, I'm just trying not to give anything away just in case you watch it. And I thought overall it was a pretty solid film. I really liked the soundtrack. I thought the score was really good. Music was used effectively in this film. I thought it was shot pretty beautifully. Everything looked pretty good. Not mind-blowingly good, but just a well produced movie. I just think it's a solid start to the year, and if you get the chance, you should definitely go see this. All right, thank you.